Snow fell softly over the quiet streets of Maplewood that Christmas Eve, blanketing the world in a fragile stillness. But not every home was filled with laughter and light. For Ethan Cole, a 38-year-old single father, the night carried a heaviness that matched the winter sky. His daughter, Mia, had been asking for weeks, "Dad, will Mom come back this Christmas?" He'd smiled faintly each time, not having the heart to say no. Tonight he just wanted to get through the hours, wrap up the last of the delivery jobs, and return home to his small apartment, just the two of them, and a little tree they'd decorated with paper stars. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of one act to change a life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that touch hearts around the world. Ethan's job as a delivery driver wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to keep the lights on and food on the table. He worked long hours since losing his wife in an accident 3 years earlier. Her laughter still haunted his dreams, her absence an ache that never left. Tonight, his shift had stretched longer than expected, the roads slick with snow, his fingers numb on the steering wheel. He just wanted to finish the last delivery before heading home to Mia, who had promised to wait up with hot chocolate and the old Christmas movie they watched every year. But fate had other plans. As Ethan drove past the park near the old train station, his headlights caught something strange. Two small figures huddled together on a snow-covered bench. He slowed instinctively, his heart tightening. It was nearly midnight, and the temperature was freezing. He pulled over and stepped out, the cold biting through his jacket. Under the dim yellow streetlight, he saw them clearly now, two little girls, no older than 6 or 7, wrapped in thin sweaters, their knees drawn to their chests, trembling. Their faces were pale, and their hair one's golden, the other's dark brown clung to their cheeks, stiff from the cold. "Hey?" Ethan's voice came out softer than he expected. "Are you girls okay?" They looked up, startled. One of them, the smaller twin, clutched a ragged teddy bear to her chest, while the other tried to shield her sister. "We're fine," she whispered, but her lips quivered, and he could see the tears glistening in her wide gray eyes. Ethan knelt in the snow. "Where are your parents?" The older girl hesitated, then said quietly, "They went away. They said they'd come back, but—" Her voice broke off into the night air. Ethan's breath hitched. He scanned the park, empty benches, silent streets, a flickering lamppost, no adults, no one, just these two tiny lives shivering on Christmas Eve. He couldn't just walk away. He took off his coat and wrapped it around them both, feeling their cold little bodies shaking under the fabric. "You can't stay out here," he said firmly, more to himself than to them. "Come with me, okay? I'll keep you safe." They hesitated, eyes darting between him and the road, but exhaustion won. The smaller one reached for his hand first. Her tiny fingers were ice cold. Ethan lifted them gently into his truck, turned up the heat, and called his daughter. "Mia, sweetie, I'm bringing someone home. 2 little girls, they're cold and hungry. Can you warm up some soup?" There was a pause, then her voice, curious and soft. "Of course, Dad." When they reached his apartment, Mia opened the door, wearing her reindeer pajamas, her long dark hair tied in a messy bun. She gasped when she saw the girls, then hurried them inside. Ethan found some of Mia's old clothes, small sweaters, leggings, socks, and helped the twins change while Mia set the table. The girls ate like they hadn't seen food in days, spooning the soup so quickly that tears welled up in Ethan's eyes. He hadn't felt this kind of ache since the day he lost his wife, the kind that came from seeing something so unfair, so raw, and wanting to fix it. When they'd eaten, the twins sat by the heater, cuddling under a blanket. The smaller one finally spoke. "My name's Leela," she said softly, "and she's my sister, Lucy." Ethan smiled gently. "Those are beautiful names." Leela looked at the Christmas tree in the corner, its lights flickering faintly. "You have a tree," she whispered. "We used to have one. Mom would sing songs, and Dad would." She trailed off, her face clouding with pain. "Where are your parents now, sweetheart?" Mia asked softly. Lucy answered this time. "They told us to wait on the bench. They said they were going to find food, but it got dark. We waited all day. They didn't come back." Ethan's heart clenched, abandoned on Christmas Eve. He couldn't wrap his mind around it. He tucked the blanket closer around them, promising they'd be safe tonight. After the girls fell asleep on the couch, Ethan stood in the kitchen, staring out at the snowy street. The question gnawed at him, who could leave children like that. He called the police anonymously, explaining what he'd found. They said they'd check for reports of missing kids and send someone in the morning. But Ethan couldn't sleep. Something about the twins, their eyes, their expression stirred something deep inside him. Morning came pale and quiet. The police arrived, kind but procedural. They took the twins' names and asked questions, but no records matched. No one had reported them missing. "We'll place them in temporary care," the officer said, "until we can find their parents." Ethan's gut twisted. "Temporary care, you mean foster homes?" The officer nodded. "Just until we figure it out." After they left, the apartment felt too still. Mia looked up at her father, her voice trembling. "Dad, can't we help them, even just for now?" Ethan swallowed hard. "I don't know if we can, sweetie. It's complicated." But as he watched Mia set 2 small mugs of cocoa at the empty table, one with a candy cane for Leela, one for Lucy, he knew his answer. He couldn't let those girls go into the system, not when they'd already lost so much. He called the officer back, explaining that he was willing to foster them temporarily. It took hours of paperwork, background checks, and a visit from Child Services. But by evening, the twins were officially staying with the Coles, at least for now. When Ethan picked them up from the station, Lucy ran into his arms without hesitation. "You came back," she said, her voice muffled against his jacket. "You really came back." That night, for the first time in years, laughter filled the small apartment. The 4 of them decorated the tree again, adding paper snowflakes and hand-drawn stars. Leela sang softly, her voice a little shaky, while Lucy helped Mia wrap presents for the toy drive they volunteered at. Ethan stood back, watching them, a lump in his throat. Maybe this was what Christmas was supposed to mean, not gifts or perfect plans, but the courage to open your heart when it hurts most. Days passed, then weeks. The girls began to smile more, eat better, sleep soundly. Ethan found himself rearranging his life, adjusting his shifts, cooking breakfast with Mia, helping Leela and Lucy with their drawings. He realized how much he'd missed the sound of children's laughter echoing through the house. The hole that grief had carved in him began to fill slowly, tenderly. Then one snowy morning in January, he got a call from the officer. "We've found the twins' mother." The voice said. Ethan froze. "She's in the hospital. She'd been hit by a car on Christmas Eve right after she left them. She's been in a coma." Ethan's mind reeled. She hadn't abandoned them. She'd been trying to find food, just like they said. When he told the twins, they both cried silently. "She didn't leave us," Lucy whispered. "She didn't leave." A few days later, they went to visit her. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and faint flowers. The woman lying there was pale, frail, but alive. The moment the twins saw her, they ran forward, clinging to her hands. Her eyelids fluttered, and tears slipped down her cheeks. "My babies," she murmured weakly. "I'm so sorry." Ethan stood in the doorway, eyes burning. It was a miracle and a heartbreak all at once. Over the following months, Ethan helped the mother, whose name was Claire, recover. She told him how she'd been evicted after losing her job, how she'd tried to protect her daughters but couldn't feed them anymore. When she'd gone out to find help that night, fate had struck cruelly. When she was strong enough to walk again, she came to thank Ethan. "You saved them," she said softly. "You saved my girls." Ethan shook his head. "They saved me," he replied, his voice thick. "They reminded me what love feels like again." By spring, Claire had found work and a small place nearby. The girls visited Ethan and Mia every weekend. What started as tragedy had become something like family, different, imperfect, but whole in its own way. On the next Christmas Eve, a year later, they all gathered again in the same apartment, the twins, their mother, Mia, and Ethan. Leela handed him a handmade card that read, "Thank you for giving us a home when we had none." Ethan felt tears spill down his cheeks as he looked around the room, the warm lights, the laughter, the hope that had once seemed impossible. "You girls," he said softly, "are the best Christmas gift I ever got." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal, because somewhere out there, a small act of kindness is waiting to change someone's entire world. Special request: comment below, "Kindness never goes unnoticed." If you believe love can heal even the deepest wounds,